Every second you waste is another second closer to regret. While you're scrolling, someone else is building. While you sleep in, someone is grinding. Time is running out. Get up or get left behind. That people waste time like they've got a backup life in the trunk. They act like tomorrow is promised, like the clock is just decoration. But let me tell you something that most people never understand until it's too late. Time is your most valuable asset. Not money, not followers, not status. Time. Once it's gone, it's gone, it's gone. You don't get refunds on hours you wasted being lazy, distracted, weak. You think you have time? You don't. That's the lie the world feeds you so you can stay soft and compliant while the real ones build. I didn't come from comfort. I didn't have a silver spoon. There was no safety net waiting for me if I failed. I had to use every hour like it was war. I remember days when I had nothing, sleeping in a freezing apartment, no heating, grinding in silence while the world laughed. Everyone thought I was crazy. They didn't see the vision, and you know what? That's fine, because I saw it. I didn't need validation. I needed progress. I'd wake up and think, this day, I don't get this day back. If I don't squeeze it, I die with regret. That fear, not of failure, but of wasting time, pushed me harder than any motivational quote ever could. Most people don't get that pressure because they haven't been desperate. They haven't been hungry. When I was broke, when I was driving a car with more rust than paint, when I had to choose between food or fuel, I realized how expensive time really is. See, time doesn't feel expensive until you've got nothing but time and no results to show for it. That's hell. Sitting in a room with your dreams screaming at you, and you've done nothing because you kept saying, I'll do it tomorrow. No, that mindset kills. You get 24 hours. Every second is a currency. How are you spending it? You're not too busy. You're just not serious. You're not distracted. You're just weak. I didn't build anything by being casual with my time. I treated every day like a test I couldn't afford to fail. I would train, study, work, build, while others were partying or sleeping or complaining. People used to laugh at me because I wasn't out drinking or chasing short-term pleasure. But I knew something they didn't, that freedom isn't bought with comfort. It's bought with sacrifice. And sacrifice is a time investment. You want to be rich, disciplined, respected? Then you better stop letting your days rot away. Because each day you waste is another day further from the life you say you want. You think you've got years? You might not even have months. You don't know when your time's up. I've lost people, young, strong, ambitious, who thought they had decades. Life took them in a second. That changed me. It lit a fire under me that hasn't gone out since. Time humbled me. There were moments where all I had was my mindset and the clock, and the decision to either rise or rot. I could have quit. Nobody would have blamed me. But I don't live for excuses. I live for results. So I kept moving. I kept grinding. I kept grinding. I respected the time I was given even when life gave me nothing else. And slowly, everything changed. Because time, when used with ruthless discipline, becomes your weapon. It multiplies effort. It builds empires. It separates the hungry from the hollow. People want quick wins. They want success with no sacrifice. That's not how this works. You want to stand out? Start valuing your time like your life depends on it. Because it does. Wake up earlier, cut the noise, block out distractions. Stop spending hours on nonsense and then crying about why you're not where you want to be. Life doesn't hand you greatness. It gives you the time to earn it. That's the game. And the clock is ticking. You're either spending your time building your future or digging your grave. Choose fast, fast. Because every second counts. Everyone wants to talk about motivation. How do I stay motivated? I need motivation to get started. That's the wrong mindset. That's why people stay broke, weak, lost. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. You feel tired. You feel bored. You feel scared. And the moment those feelings hit, your motivation disappears. If your success depends on motivation, you've already lost. What you need is discipline. Cold, relentless, brutal discipline. The kind that doesn't care how you feel. Slow. The kind that moves when it's tired, that builds when it's broken, that keeps going long after the motivation is gone. I didn't get to where I am because I was constantly motivated. I'm not some superhero waking up every day with fireworks in my chest. I've had days where I wanted to sleep in. Days where my body hurt. My mind was foggy and life felt like it was punching me in the face. But I showed up anyway. Why? Because I made discipline my identity. I built the habit of doing what needs to be done, whether I felt like it or not. I trained my mind to move through resistance like a machine. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is a decision. And I made the decision early on. I'd rather suffer now than be a slave later. When I was younger and broke, nobody was clapping for me. There were no fans. No comfort. No comfort. I was fighting every single day just to stay above water. I remember sitting in a freezing room, no heating, laptop on my knees, wearing a coat indoors because I couldn't afford to fix it. You think I was motivated? No, I was tired. I was frustrated, but I was disciplined. Well, I was disciplined. I knew that if I missed a single day, if I allowed myself to slack even once, it would become a pattern. Discipline is what got me up and working when there was no external reward. I worked when I had no reason to, no money, no support, just a vision and a refusal to stay broke. People don't understand that success isn't loud. It's not glamorous. It's built in silence behind closed doors when no one's watching. It's saying no to comfort, no to distraction, no to the easy way out. You don't become elite by doing what's convenient. You become elite by doing what's necessary, especially when it's inconvenient. That's the truth nobody wants to hear. Because it's hard. It requires sacrifice. It requires choosing pain over pleasure every single day. But that pain, that's where growth lives. There were nights I worked until my eyes burned. Days I trained when my body screamed to stop. There were months where all I did was grind, eat, sleep, repeat. No parties, no vacations, no distractions, just war. That's what discipline looks like. It's ugly. It's raw, but it's effective. It's raw, but it's effective. And over time, that kind of discipline becomes a weapon. It becomes a force that nothing can stop. While others crash and burn because they're waiting for motivation to return, I keep moving. That's why I win. That's why I grin. That's why I keep rising. Discipline makes you dangerous. You think champions always feel inspired? You think warriors always feel brave? No, they're human, but they move anyway. That's the separation. That's the edge. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. And when you live like that, when you become the type of person who acts despite the emotion, you become untouchable. The world can throw chaos, pain, setbacks, and you'll keep showing up because you've built something no one can take. Consistency. The problem is, most people are emotionally weak. They chase highs, they look for comfort, they avoid anything that hurts, and then they wonder why their life stays the same. You can't rely on feelings to lead you. You lead yourself. You command your body. You own your time. You control your outcome. That's what discipline gives you. Power. Not hype, not momentary energy, but long-term, unshakable, undeniable power. The truth is, you don't need more motivation. You need to stop negotiating with yourself. You know what needs to be done. You know the work, the habits, the path, but you keep waiting to feel like it. That's weakness. I've buried that part of me. I don't wait to feel ready. I act. Every morning I wake up, I make one decision, do what's required. That's it. No questions, no questions, no delays, that mindset. That's how empires are built. So stop lying to yourself. Stop saying you'll start tomorrow or when you're in the right headspace to start now. Build discipline like your life depends on it, because it does. Most people don't realize it, but comfort is the slowest form of death. It's silent. It doesn't scream in your face. It whispers gently, pulling you back into the bed, into the couch, into the distraction, into softness. And before you know it, years have passed and you're still the same person. Weak, average, unfulfilled. Comfort is seductive because it feels safe. But safety doesn't make you strong. It doesn't sharpen you. It doesn't prepare you for war. Only discomfort does that. Only struggle shapes you into something dangerous. I've lived through discomfort. Real discomfort. Real discomfort. I didn't have a safety net growing up. I didn't have a backup plan. There was no room for weakness. I had to become sharp or get crushed. I remember nights where I had no idea how I'd eat the next day. There were times I trained with injuries, with no sleep, with stress piling on top of me like a mountain. But I kept pushing. Not because it was fun. Not because it was fun. Not because it felt good. But because I understood something most people refuse to accept. Every time you choose comfort over challenge, you choose weakness over growth. When I was sleeping in a cold apartment, lights off, heating gone, scraping by, there was no comfort in that. But there was clarity. That pain woke me up. It reminded me that nobody was coming to save me. I had two options, break or build. I chose to build. And every day after that, I started chasing discomfort on purpose, training when it hurt, working longer than I thought I could, pushing my mind to the edge and then going further. Why? Because the more pain I endured, the more powerful I became. You don't grow from what's easy. You grow from what tests you, from what scares you, from what scares you, from what forces you to evolve. But today, people are addicted to comfort. They run from anything hard. They avoid confrontation. They quit when it hurts. They take shortcuts. They want the body without the discipline. They want the money without the sacrifice. They want the respect without the pain. That's not how life works. Life doesn't reward comfort. Life doesn't reward comfort. It rewards resilience. It rewards people who step into discomfort, who grab chaos by the throat and refuse to be moved. You can see it in how people live. They sleep in because the bed is warm. They skip the workout because they're tired. They delay their dreams because chasing them is too hard. And every one of those choices stacks. Day by day, decision by decision, they build a life that's easy and meaningless. Then they wonder why they're anxious, depressed, lost. It's because comfort doesn't fulfill you. It drains you. Slowly, silently, it robs you of your potential. Slowly, silently, it robs you of your potential. I learned early that pain is not the enemy. Weakness is. And the only way to kill weakness is to put yourself in uncomfortable situations over and over until the hard things become normal. I used to train in the cold, fight through hunger. I worked with noise, pressure, criticism. I didn't wait for the perfect environment because life isn't perfect. You need to become unshakable, and you can't do that hiding in comfort. You become dangerous when you make discomfort your ally. And I get it. It's not easy. It's not supposed to be. Growth hurts. Leveling up hurts. But that's the point. That's where the value is. Everyone wants the reward, but few want the process. And that's why most people stay stuck. They fear the pain of change more than the pain of staying average. But I'd rather bleed now than suffer forever. That's the trade I made. That's the life I chose. I've broken bones. I've lost people. I've been betrayed, counted out, laughed at. But every time I was hit, I used it. Every loss, every scar, every setback, I turned them into fuel. That's what discomfort gives you. It's not just about toughness. It's about transformation. You enter the fire week and come out forged. That's how you become a man people respect. That's how you become someone even your enemies fear. So you've got two options. Stay soft and safe or get uncomfortable and rise. Because comfort won't build your dream. Comfort won't earn you freedom. Comfort won't give you legacy. Discomfort will. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner your life will start to shift. Comfort is where you rot. Discomfort is where you rise. Discomfort is where you rise. You keep telling yourself you've got time. That there's no rush. That tomorrow you'll get serious. Next week you'll start. When life calms down, when things feel right, then you'll take action. That's the biggest lie you've ever believed. You don't have time. You never did. Every second that passes is gone forever. Every day you waste thinking, planning, overanalyzing, stalling. Someone else is moving, building, getting ahead. Life doesn't pause for you to catch up. It keeps going. And if you keep sitting still, it'll leave you behind. Fast. I learned this truth the hard way. I've had moments in my life where I thought I had it all figured out. Then everything was ripped away. No warning, no second chances. Just gone. I remember being dead broke, sitting in a room with nothing but a laptop and a burning sense of urgency. Rent was due. Bills were piling. I had no backup, no family to save me, no rich friend to call. I was alone, and the clock was ticking. That was the moment I realized that I didn't have the luxury to waste even one day. Time became war. I started attacking every hour like it owed me something, because it did. It owed me everything I was willing to fight for. Most people don't get that until life forces them to. They think they're early in the game, that they've got years to figure it out. Let me ask you something. How many people have you seen go from young and ambitious to old and bitter just because they kept saying one day? That's the price of waiting. That's the cost of not moving with urgency. I've seen people with potential die with nothing to show for it. Not because they weren't smart or talented, but because they were slow. Because they thought time was a friend. It's not. It's a ticking bomb. When I was grinding day and night, most people around me were chilling. Then they were relaxing, chasing pleasure, wasting time. They'd laugh at me, say I was too intense, too obsessed. They'd say, "You've got time, bro. Enjoy life." But I saw something they didn't. I saw what wasting time really leads to: mediocrity, regret, weakness. And I wasn't going to let that be my story. So while they played, I worked. While they slept, I learned. While they took their time, I moved like I had none. That's the edge. That's what separates winners from everyone else: speed. See, when you move fast, you outpace failure. You try, you fail, you adapt, and you try again, all before the guy next to you even starts. You cover more ground in a month than others do in a year. It's not about rushing without thinking. It's about acting with purpose, moving with fire. There's a level of intensity that you need if you want to actually get somewhere in life. Not this soft, casual, part-time approach most people take. I'm talking full throttle, all in, like your life depends on it, because it does. People think being slow is safe, that waiting is smart. But every time you delay action, you're betting against yourself. You're letting fear win, and fear loves when you delay. Because the longer you wait, the louder it gets. Suddenly, what was once possible becomes a too late. Your dream turns into a memory. And all you're left with is the thought: what if I just started? There was a time when I was juggling jobs, working brutal hours, trying to get my own thing off the ground. I was exhausted, mentally and physically. There were nights I fell asleep with my phone in my hand while reading, learning, planning. But I never stopped, because I knew every second counted. That's what most people don't understand. It's not just about hard work, it's about urgency. If you're not in a rush, you're not serious. I sacrificed a lot in those early years. I missed out on fun, on comfort, on so-called a balance. But I gained time. I bought my future with the hours I was willing to give up. And now the same people who laughed are stuck in the same place they were 10 years ago, still talking about what they're going to do one day. One day doesn't exist. All you've got is now. You want freedom? You want freedom. You want power. You want respect. Then you better start moving like the clock is your enemy. Because it is. You're not too young. You're not too late. You're just wasting time. And the truth is, that's a choice. You either wake up now, or you'll wake up one day wondering how it all slipped away. The clock is ticking. What are you doing about it? See, most people are slow. That's their biggest problem. They wait, they hesitate, they overthink, and by the time they finally move, the opportunity is already gone. Winners don't operate like that. Winners move urgently. They don't need 100 reasons. They don't need approval. They see a gap and they take it. Fast. That's how the world works at the top. It's not about who's the smartest or who's got the most talent. It's about who moves with the most intent. Who takes action before comfort, before fear, before the timing feels perfect. I've lived both sides of this. I've moved too slow before. I've missed chances because I second-guessed myself or waited for everything to align. And I paid for it. You think life gives second chances? Sometimes it doesn't. And when it does, you better believe the price is higher. I learned early that hesitation is a luxury I couldn't afford. When you come from nothing, when the pressure is real, you either move or you starve. So I started moving like my life depended on it, because it did. There were times when I had no money, no stability, and no backup plan. I remember looking at my bank account and seeing barely enough to eat for a week, and I'd still invest in something that might help me grow, might help me break free. Not because I was reckless, but because I refused to stay stuck. Refused to let fear of failure keep me frozen. That urgency, that mindset is what separated me. It's what built everything. People don't understand that speed matters. When you move fast, you gain momentum. You start stacking wins. You fail faster, which means you learn faster, which means you learn faster. You don't waste time sitting in self-doubt or waiting for someone to give you permission. You just go. And with every move, every decision, you sharpen your instincts. You start trusting your gut. You become more dangerous because you're not paralyzed by overthinking. You're in motion. I've seen it over and over, guys who had all the tools but never made a move. They were always preparing, planning, reading, researching, waiting for the right time. That right time never came. They stayed in the same place for years, while the ones who moved, who weren't afraid to mess up, who weren't afraid to look stupid, started rising. That's the difference. Action. Immediate, aggressive, unapologetic action. When I was building, I didn't have time to sit around hoping things would fall into place. I made them fall into place. I figured things out while I was already moving. You can't course correct if you're not even in motion. People think they need the whole blueprint first, but the truth is, you only get the map once you start walking. You have to be willing to step into the unknown and figure it out under pressure. There were moments where I launched things before I was ready, made decisions before I had full clarity, took risks that could have gone either way. But every single one of those moves taught me something that standing still never could. I learned how to adapt. I learned how to recover. I learned how to win without waiting to be told it was time. I don't wait for motivation to hit. I don't wait for confidence to magically appear. I build it by moving. That's what urgency gives you. Power. Every time you act quickly, you reinforce that you are in control. That you are the type of person who takes life into your own hands. And when you stack that identity over time, you become unstoppable. Because while everyone else is still deciding, you're already 3 steps ahead. You've got to stop thinking speed is dangerous. The real danger is being slow. The real danger is being slow. The real threat is letting the days pass you by while you prepare for a moment that might never come. Life doesn't care if you were planning something big. It rewards those who execute. Even if it's messy, even if it's messy, even if it's small, even if it's imperfect, execution beats intention every time. I built entire businesses, made life-changing moves, and climbed levels not because I had some master strategy, but because I moved before I was ready. I took shots while others were still thinking about aiming. And that's why I kept rising. That's why I never stayed stuck. I moved when it mattered. I moved urgently. So the next time you catch yourself hesitating, overthinking, waiting for someone to validate your decision, remember this: the clock is ticking. Opportunities don't wait. Winners don't wait. You either move now or someone else moves in your place. Speed wins. Always. Every day you're building your legacy. Whether you realize it or not, every choice you make, every action you take, every hour you waste or invest, it's all stacking. It's all shaping the story they're going to tell about you when you're gone. People think legacy is something you build later in life, when you're older, when you've made your money, when you've got time. That's not true. Your legacy is being written right now. Today, with how you live, how you carry yourself, and how you respond when life punches you in the mouth. When I was broke, grinding, invisible to the world, I still walked like I was building an empire. Because I was. Even when I had nothing, I had vision. I had discipline. I had the mindset that every single day mattered because I knew one thing for sure. No one's going to remember what you said you were going to do. They're going to remember what you actually did. And I refuse to be remembered as a man who wasted his potential. There were times I had every reason to quit. Times when I was completely alone, fighting battles that nobody saw. I've been stabbed in the back by people I trusted. I've lost everything I built more than once. I faced failure, heartbreak, betrayal. I've woken up on the floor, literally not knowing how I was going to eat that day. You think that didn't hurt? You think that didn't test every part of who I was? Through all of that, I kept moving. Not just because I wanted success, but because I was building something bigger than money. I was building a name, a legacy. Legacy isn't about being famous. It's not about followers or cars or flashing your lifestyle. It's about respect. It's about being the kind of man people speak about with conviction when you're not in the room. It's about becoming undeniable. When people talk about you, do they say you were all talk, or do they say you were the real deal? Disciplined, dangerous, focused, relentless. That's the question I ask myself every day. And that's why I never slack. Like one day they'll get serious. One day they'll clean up the mess. One day, they'll finally become the version of themselves they admire. But the truth is, there are no guarantees. You don't know how many 01 days you've got left. What if today was the only page someone ever saw from your story? What would it say about you? I've always believed that how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you cut corners in private, you'll cut corners in public. If you lie to yourself in silence, that rot shows up in your results. You can't hide from your own patterns. And eventually, the world sees who you really are. So when I was broke, I trained like I was rich. When I had no status, I worked like I already had it. When no one was watching, I carried myself like the whole world was, because that's the level of self-respect it takes to build something that lasts. Your legacy isn't built in the big moments. It's built in the small ones. It's built at 5 a.m. when no one's awake. It's built when you choose discipline over distraction, when you shut out noise and focus on your mission. It's built when you fail, and instead of folding, you show up again. Every rep, every sacrifice. Every time you bite your tongue and keep pushing forward when everything in you wants to quit, that's legacy. That's what people feel when they talk about a real man. You don't have to be perfect. I've made mistakes. I've done things I regret, but I never stopped evolving. I never stopped still. I never let a loss define me. I took every scar, every flaw, and I used it. I used the pain, the doubt, the pressure, and I turned it into something permanent. That's the difference. Legacy is built by those who don't just survive, but who transform under pressure. Oh, and our people need to stop chasing temporary wins. The party, the attention, the applause, none of it lasts. What lasts is who you become. What lasts is how you make people feel when they hear your name. Do they feel inspiration or pity? Do they remember you as someone who broke limits or someone who made excuses? Every day, you're writing your story. And if you're not intentional, if you're not locked in, the story ends the same way it started. Ordinary. And that's not what you were built for. You were built to dominate. First. You were built to leave something behind that echoes. You were built for legacy, and legacy isn't written someday. It's written now. So write yours with action, not words, because the world remembers what you did, not what you said you'd do.